Welcome to our deep dive into leadership.
Oh,
Yeah, we're going to be exploring some key insights from Gary Yukl's book, Leadership in Organizations.
uh,
Specifically, focusing on what it takes to be an effective leader in a formal organization.
mhm.
You can kind of think of this book as like a blend of research and real-world practicality,
Yeah.
kind of a guide to understanding how leadership really functions.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yukl goes beyond just the theory and
Mhm.
really gets into the details that can either make or break a leader.
Right. And one thing that really jumped out at me was this idea of how managerial work is often perceived versus the reality.
Yeah.
There's this common misconception that managers spend the majority of their time just thinking and analyzing data and, planning.
Right. The classic image of the manager, behind the desk strategizing.
Exactly. But Yukl's research shows that managerial work is often very fragmented. It's
Yeah.
reactive.
Yeah.
And there's a constant stream of interruptions.
It's a lot of putting out fires and juggling and just kind of making those decisions quickly.
Right. So how can leaders thrive in this kind of unpredictable environment?
Well, that's where Yukl's insights are really valuable.
All right.
He gives some practical strategies for not just surviving, but excelling in this kind of environment.
Okay.
And he really emphasizes things like participative leadership and delegation.
Now, some might argue that involving subordinates in decision-making, which
Uh-huh.
is the participative leadership, could actually slow things down,
Right.
especially when you need to make quick decisions.
Sure.
So how does that work?
Well, it's a great question. And it really kind of gets to the heart of why participative leadership isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It's about being strategic and understanding when and how to involve others.
Okay.
Because Yukl's research says that it can lead to increased satisfaction and potentially better decisions.
Okay.
But it's not always the right approach.
So it's about finding that balance between getting input and efficiency.
Yeah, and that's where a tool like the Room-Yetton model can be so helpful. It provides a framework for leaders to decide how much participation is best based on the situation.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, if the decision is super time sensitive and, needs expertise that the leader has,
Right.
then maybe a more top-down approach is better.
Okay.
But if it affects the team and you need buy-in from everyone,
Right.
a more participative approach might be better, even if it takes a bit more time.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about delegation. I know I've struggled with it in the past.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels easier just to do it yourself.
Yeah.
What are some things leaders should watch out for?
Well, a lot of leaders struggle with delegation,
Right.
and Yukl talks about some of the reasons.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a lack of confidence in their team,
Mm.
or maybe a fear of losing control or seeming less essential.
Yeah.
So they hold on to tasks to maintain their perceived value.
Try.
But overcoming that often starts with changing how you think about it. It's about recognizing that delegation isn't about dumping tasks on people.
Right.
It's about empowering your team, developing their skills, and ultimately creating a more efficient work environment.
So it's an investment in their growth.
Exactly.
Okay. What about some practical tips for getting better at it?
Sure. Well, one strategy is to start small,
Okay.
delegate tasks that are low risk, and then as trust builds, you can increase complexity. Communicate your expectations, clearly provide support, but resist the urge to micromanage.
Right.
And then acknowledge and celebrate successes.
Oh, that's good.
Positive reinforcement goes a long way.
Yeah, I like that. Now let's shift focus to the individual leader.
Sure.
What traits or skills does Yukl highlight as being really important for leadership?
Well, he goes into a lot of traits and skills,
Okay.
but some that are pretty consistent predictors of effectiveness include self-confidence, integrity, and emotional intelligence.
Those make sense. But can you elaborate on how they actually play out in real-life leadership?
Sure. Well, emotional intelligence is all about being aware of and managing our own emotions and being in tune with the emotions of those around us.
Okay.
So leaders with high emotional intelligence, they're really good at reading social cues, understanding the dynamics of a situation, and responding in a way that builds trust. They're
Okay.
good at building rapport, resolving conflicts, and creating that positive emotional climate.
So emotional intelligence really helps create that positive work environment where people feel valued.
Exactly. And that's where Yukl's concept of power orientation comes in.
Yeah, okay.
He talks about leaders who are driven by personalized power versus socialized power.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so Leaders with a personalized power orientation, they tend to be more self-centered.
Okay.
They focus on their own needs, and they use their power to control others.
Got it.
This can create a toxic environment where there's fear and mistrust, which hinders collaboration.
Yeah.
But leaders with a socialized power orientation, they're outward focused. They use their power to empower others, foster collaboration, and work towards collective goals.
So it's like leading through fear versus leading through inspiration.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And Yukl's research says that leaders with that socialized power orientation are more likely to create a positive and productive work environment.
The leaders that I've seen who were really exceptional were the ones who cared about their team and empowered them.
Right.
It's clear that socialized power can have a big impact on success.
Absolutely. It reminds us that leadership isn't about wielding power over others, but about using your influence to empower them.
Now let's dive into leading change and innovation.
Okay.
Organizations need to constantly adapt to stay ahead, and that needs skillful leadership.
Absolutely. Leading change can be tough.
Right.
And Yukl gives some insights into how to navigate it. He talks about how people react to change
Okay.
and outlines 4 stages: denial, anger, mourning, and finally, adaptation.
So how can leaders use this understanding of the 4 stages to help their team during change?
Well, first, you have to recognize that these reactions are totally normal and give people space to process their emotions.
Okay.
During the denial phase, people might resist the change.
Right.
A leader can help by explaining the reasons for the change, addressing concerns openly and honestly,
Okay.
and providing opportunities for dialogue.
Got it.
During the anger phase, they might be frustrated.
Yeah.
Leaders should acknowledge these feelings, listen to concerns, and give them ways to express those grievances.
Okay.
Mourning might involve sadness,
Right.
and a leader can help by acknowledging that, celebrating past successes, and highlighting the potential benefits of the new approach.
So it's a process.
Yeah, and finally, in adaptation, they start to embrace the change.
Okay.
And the leader can support this with training resources, celebrating early wins, and fostering a sense of optimism.
So navigating these stages takes empathy, patience, and meeting people where they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But by understanding these stages and giving the right support,
Yeah.
leaders can help their teams move through change more smoothly.
Okay. Another crucial aspect of leading change is having a clear vision.
Right. Definitely, Yukl really stresses that leaders need to paint a vivid picture of the future, explain why the change is happening,
Right.
and inspire others to get on board.
It's about creating that excitement for what's possible.
Exactly. And he gives some good guidelines for developing a vision.
Oh, okay.
He says it needs to be appealing, relevant, credible,
Yeah.
and connected to past successes.
That makes sense. Are there any real-world examples of leaders who successfully navigated change in their organizations?
Oh, yeah. He shares a compelling story about a leader named Richard,
Oh.
who initially struggled to lead a big change.
Uh-huh.
He faced resistance and skepticism,
Right.
but he eventually succeeded by shifting his approach, focusing on empowering others, building a strong coalition of support,
Right.
and consistently communicating the vision in a way that resonated with his team.
So even with challenges, leaders can still find ways to inspire their teams to change.
Absolutely. Leading change is rarely easy. But by understanding the human element, developing a clear vision,
Yeah.
and taking a collaborative and empowering approach,
Right.
leaders can increase their chances of success.
Okay. Now, sometimes change isn't about those major organizational shifts.
Right.
Sometimes leaders face unexpected crises.
Yes.
They need a whole different set of skills.
Definitely.
So does Yukl offer any guidance on leading through those high-pressure situations?
He does. He dedicates a section to managing immediate crises.
Okay.
Those unexpected events that threaten safety or even the survival of an organization.
Like those kinds of things.
Well, it could be natural disasters, accidents, equipment failures, security breaches, or sudden financial meltdowns.
Wow, those are high stakes.
Yeah.
What are some of the key principles for crisis leadership?
Well, first, it's about staying calm under pressure.
Yeah,
In a crisis, people look to their leaders,
right.
and a leader who panics will make things worse.
Yeah.
You need swift and decisive action.
So it's about being that steady presence in the storm?
Exactly. You need to quickly assess the situation, gather information,
Okay.
and make tough decisions even with limited information.
So those core leadership qualities like self-confidence and emotional intelligence are even more important during a crisis.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You need those when the pressure is on. In addition to being calm and decisive,
Right.
you need clear and frequent communication during a crisis. People need to know what's happening,
Okay.
what's being done, and what their role is. Open communication reduces confusion, rumors, and anxiety.
So it's about providing a sense of control in a situation that feels out of control.
Precisely. And finally, focus on solving the immediate problems,
Uh-huh.
but also take steps to prevent it from happening again.
Okay.
It's about learning from the experience and coming out stronger.
So crisis leadership is about quick action, clear communication, and a proactive mindset.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Now, we've talked about leading individuals and navigating crises, but what about leading teams?
Okay.
What insights does Yukl give on building high-performing teams?
Well, he stresses that teamwork is essential for organizational success,
Right.
especially in today's complex world. Several things contribute to a high-performing team,
Okay.
starting with making sure members have the right skills,
Right.
and those skills complement each other.
So it's like creating a team where individual strengths work together toward a shared goal.
Exactly. It starts with selecting the right team members.
Okay. How do you make sure you have the right mix of skills and personalities?
Well, when forming a team or needing to replace someone,
Yeah.
leaders should look for people whose skills and experience will fill the gaps and create a balanced team.
Okay.
You need to look beyond individual expertise and think about how those strengths will interact.
So it's strategic team building.
Yes, clear roles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
If it's not clear who does what, confusion and duplicated effort happen.
Right.
Leaders need to set expectations and procedures.
I've been on teams where lack of clarity caused frustration.
It's common, but can be fixed with good leadership and communication.
Okay, now what about trust and cooperation?
Those are essential.
Right. But how do you create that?
Yeah.
You can't force people to trust each other.
You're right. It takes effort and leadership.
Okay.
One way is to have a shared vision that everyone believes in.
Yeah.
It creates a sense of purpose and unity,
Uh,
a feeling that they're working towards something bigger than themselves.
I love that. What else?
Symbols and rituals can be powerful too.
Okay.
Think team logos, mottos, or team building activities.
Oh.
These strengthen bonds. And, of course, recognize and reward individual contributions.
Good tips.
Mm.
It sounds like creating a positive team environment is about making people feel valued and empowered to work together.
Exactly. It's about fostering a sense of belonging where everyone feels like they're part of something bigger.
Now let's zoom out to the bigger picture, leading an entire organization.
Okay,
That seems way more complex.
it is.
So what does it involve?
Well, Yukl talks about strategic leadership, which is all about guiding an organization to long-term success by making those big picture decisions
Right.
and setting the overall direction.
This is where those visionary leaders come in.
Yeah, exactly. They need to see the big picture, anticipate trends, and make the tough choices.
Okay.
Yukl provides a good framework for understanding strategic leadership.
Okay.
And he talks about external monitoring.
External monitoring. What's that?
It's being really aware of the external environment.
Okay.
What's happening in the industry? What are the competitors doing?
Right.
What are the new technologies and innovations?
Uh-huh.
Are customer preferences changing?
Right.
It's about constantly scanning for opportunities and threats.
So you're looking outward, not just inward.
Exactly. Then you need to develop a competitive strategy.
So how do we stand out?
Right. What's our unique value?
Yeah.
How do we stay ahead? Well, before you even develop the strategy,
Yeah.
you have to assess the organization's strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
What are we good at? Where can we improve?
Okay.
What resources do we have?
So like a SWOT analysis.
Exactly. Once you understand your internal situation,
Right.
you can start thinking about potential strategies.
Okay.
Do we want to be the cheapest?
Right.
Do we want to offer the best products?
Oh.
Or maybe focus on a specific part of the market?
Okay.
You need to find the strategy that best fits your organization and the market.
So it's dynamic, always changing.
Yes. And it needs input from everyone in the organization.
Right. It's a collaborative effort.
Exactly. Yukl says to involve other executives when choosing a strategy.
Makes sense.
Use their experience to make the best decisions.
Yeah.
Even use things like scenario planning to help.
Okay, good. And once you choose a strategy,
Yeah.
how do you make it happen?
Well, Yukl says that leaders have to communicate and implement it well.
Right.
It's not enough to have a plan.
Uh-huh.
You have to get everyone on board.
So that's where the change leadership skills come in.
Exactly. You have to communicate the vision rally support and deal with any resistance to change.
That makes sense.
You have to inspire and motivate people to work towards the new goal.
So how do you communicate a vision effectively?
Yukl says to make it appealing, relevant, credible,
Okay.
and connect it to past successes to create that optimism.
Okay, good. But what if the strategy fails?
Well, that happens.
Right.
Yukl says you need a plan B.
Uh-huh.
Be willing to adapt
Okay.
and learn from those setbacks.
Sure.
It's important for leaders to keep morale up when things are tough.
Right.
People can get discouraged, so the leader needs to be supportive,
Okay.
acknowledge the challenges, but stay focused on moving forward.
So it's about resilience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Both for the leader and the organization.
Now, are there certain types of leaders who are better at strategic leadership?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Yukl talks about two types: charismatic leaders and pragmatic leaders.
Okay, tell me more.
Charismatic leaders rely on their charm and vision.
Uh-huh.
They inspire and motivate. They're transformational figures who rally people behind a cause and drive big changes.
They're the ones who paint that picture of the future.
Exactly. And they usually come up during times of crisis.
Right.
When people need direction, they tap into emotions and create a sense of shared purpose.
So they're the ones who steer the ship through the storm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, pragmatic leaders are more practical.
Oh.
They're rational, analytical, and good at problem solving.
Right.
They focus on data and making those tough but necessary decisions.
They're the ones who stay grounded.
Yeah, they ask the tough questions, analyze the data,
Uh-huh.
and make sure decisions are logical.
Okay.
They're not afraid to challenge assumptions or make unpopular choices.
It seems like those two styles could work well together.
They can.
A charismatic leader inspires,
Yeah.
and a pragmatic leader figures out how to make it happen.
Exactly. Yukl suggests that the best strategic leaders blend those approaches.
So it's about finding that balance between vision and practicality.
Yes.
How do you develop both of those qualities?
I think self-awareness is key.
Okay.
You need to understand your strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
If you're more charismatic, be careful not to get lost in the big picture and forget about the details.
Yeah.
If you're more pragmatic, challenge yourself to be more expressive about your vision.
So it's about being honest about what you're good at and what you need to work on.
Right. And that's where feedback comes in.
Yeah.
Get feedback from your peers, supervisors, and even those you lead.
Okay.
This helps you see your blind spots and become a more well-rounded leader.
It's about being open to learning.